Hi guys, Billy back. Today we're going to be doing a comparison video. I have the official 112 Punisher from MEZCO, and I also have its Chinese knockoff counterpart that people have been lovingly referring to online as a mezKO. I'm going to compare them both, boxes, figures, the whole lot. Stay tuned, let's do this. Okay, first off I'm going to say that everything in this video, all the knockoff versions are going to be on the left, and all the official versions are going to be on the right. Obviously, first off the bat, we can see the 112 knockoff version is a shower of shit. When it came to me, it was all bent and busted and dented up. You know, you're paying cheap and you're going to get like cheap packaging and cheap wrapping and things like that. So I was not surprised when it came through all dented and buggered. The 112 official came through nice and pristine in a lovely box, strong box. So when I opened it, it looked absolutely fantastic. But as we can see from the front, still got the same skull on there. Difference being that this is a more white, really bright white, and seems a little thinner, and this is a bit thicker and a little bit, I'd say, more solid. On this, I could almost see some of the black behind it, almost. But on this one, it is solid white all the way through. Obviously, in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the official has the Marvel logo. This one doesn't. But it also has 112 Collective there, 112 Collective there, the Punisher, and a white line. That's about it really. Up the top, we can see it has 112 Collective, and on the top of this, we can see it's got 112 Collective. You can see they both have the Punisher skull, white stripes, and at the bottom it has the logo. Now on here, mezcotoys.com is spelled properly, obviously, and on this one, it's mezcotoys.com. It's almost there, but obviously they've swapped everything around to try and avoid lawsuits a little bit, which they have. And on the back, you simply have sort of like a really faded half skull on the side with the Punisher. So obviously it's got all the pictures on the back. This is slightly brighter and more obvious, and on this one you can blatantly see it's darker, it's more difficult to see, and you know, it's not as good, is it? Obviously we come over here and we lift up to the bottom. It's got a barcode, and it's got mezcotoys.com, and this is for adult collectors only. And on the bottom of this, it's almost the same, except for everything's spelt right, and it's got the Marvel logos. Obviously they've avoided to put the Marvel logos on the knockoff one because they probably get sued to fuck by Disney. We can see this has Velcro on the sides, and it comes with the Punisher picture inside there. And that's where the figure would be. I've taken it out now. But that's Velcroed up. And on this one we've got magnetic, which is a bit classier. But it's also got the same picture on the inside. But it's obviously brighter, it's not as faded, and you know, it's not as crappy, to be honest. We can see this one here on the right is much more red. And this has got a darker red, looks a bit more faded. You know, they haven't gone to great deals to actually do the printing that well. Practically the same boxes except for a few differences. As we can see, the inside section of the knockoff is not very nice, is it? They taped it all up. It's quite flimsy black plastic. It's not as sturdy. It's just not going to really secure the figure. I'm lucky that I didn't get any damage with mine. The person I bought it from used tape to tape all the stuff on the inside. She taped in all the grenades, she taped in all the weapons. She taped in the hands and the head sculpts, but so that if they did roll around, they wouldn't just rattle about in here and cause damage. If you get from a dodgy seller and they just don't give a crap, they're going to slam it into a crap little bubble envelope, and this isn't going to protect it that much. You run the risk of getting damaged product. Okay guys, here they both are side by side. Knockoff is on the left, the official is on the right. Straight out of the box, there are some very obvious differences. The obvious difference being in the weathering to the actual skull on the front, the body armour, so to speak. The official one has more weathering on it, a few more darker lines, more smoke damage and more scratches. The weathering on the belts are okay. The one on the right, the official one, it's a little bit more subtle, and the one on the left, it's not massively different, but it is a little bit more. The buttons, silver buttons on the actual fake one are way more obvious and prominent. They've just slapped a blob of silver paint on there and then weathered over it, but it's a lot more slapdash than the real subtle buttons on the actual belt of the official one. Trousers, negligible to be honest. There is almost no difference whatsoever. I think they kind of nailed that. I think they did get that right, but it's sort of, there's a very, very minor amount of fading to the knockoff than to the official, but it's so not obvious, you know, it's not prevalent. And obviously we have a look at the boots, we can see that the one on the left has very silvery belt buckles. They're a bit more shiny, and the paint is a little bit more sloppy than the official one. This is nothing I wasn't expecting. Quite scary how much they've actually almost gotten the knockoff version very close to the official. It's very risky, very dangerous, I think. But anyway, let's zoom in, let's have a look at all the accessories and what we get. Okay guys, coming in on the head sculpt, we can see this is the knockoff version and this is the official version. We can see that there is slight variations to the paint app. The knockoff version has a very darker sort of tone to the skin. Not massively, but it is darker and a little bit more blushed. And the eyes aren't painted as well, I don't think. They're a little bit sloppier. See, he's got scar in there, some dark scarring around there. You can see from the darkness of the face all the way around to the ears, it gets a bit, it really does change tone a bit more. But I'm surprised they've managed to pull this amount of detail out of a recast. It's quite impressive. And then we go over to the official. We can see it's a bit more subtle. The redness in the face is just not as bad. 5 o'clock shadow is not as bad. And the hair is less shiny. You can see shine, not as much shine, shine, not as much shine. And I think the seam is a little less obvious on this. You can see the seam on the top of the head there. Less of a seam on the top of the head there. So my LEDs are playing up a little bit, so they're flickering for some weird reason. I'm going to have to change the connector, I think. But there we go. Knockoff on the left, official on the right. The right has way more weathering, smoke damage. The scratches are more prevalent. And then we come over here. A lot less smoke damage. The scratches are not made as prevalent. Look, there, dark, light. And we can see nothing you couldn't do yourself really, but still. Then we come down to the belt. We can see that the belt has some nice weathering and very clean application on those buttons. On the official one, it's very clean, very nice. Then we come over here. Ooh, bit more slapdash. Subtle weathering, sloppy weathering, and also the buttons are a bit bigger. If we come over, we can compare the hands. They've obviously gone with black wrist pegs on the official because obviously they don't want to show up. They want to keep that as part of the glove, but on the knockoff one they've just used flesh tone pegs. So the pegs on both are very good. And then we have the trousers. And down to the trousers. Very subtle lightness to the left, and the official ones on the right are a little darker. Not much, but it is, you can see it. Then we come down to these boots. We can see there is clearly a bit more of a messy application on the knockoff to the really nice and neat weathered version on the right, the official one. You can see that MEZCO took some time to painstakingly paint and look after each one, and they quality assured them, whereas on this, it's, you know, the quality assurance is just not there. Just not there. As we look on the back, we can see jumper on the left is a little bit sloppier than the one on the right. But one of the things that I think they did better on the knockoff is the actual body armor. I struggle to keep this sitting down on the official one. It doesn't seem to sit down so well. The straps ride up a little bit, and you can see the gap between the shoulder and the armor. But on here, it just sits down really nicely. Which I think they got, surprisingly, I think they did a bit better. The elbow patches are the same. And on the back, the mesh and the weathering are not that different. Not that different at all. And we've got the knife guard on the back here. This one, it doesn't, the little strap just pops out, doesn't go down. Whereas this one just sticks right there, which is better. And you can see the sloppy metal application of the studs to the studs on here, just a bit cleaner. and the back of the boots. Don't think there's much difference, except there's a little bit less weathering on here than there is on these ones, because again, the quality assurance and consistency is not there. But you can see the colour of the neck on the official head is a bit better than the colour of the neck on the back of this one. So when you put the brighter orange head on the knockoff version, it does look a little bit more faded. It does stand out a little bit more, whereas this is a bit more seamless. Again, difference between knockoff and the official. Body wise, I am struggling to see a difference. Any criticisms I throw at the official MEZCO one, which is a slightly loose hip on his right leg, I have the same with the knockoff version. The articulation is exactly the same. I thought it might be really crappy and the body would feel really flimsy and snap at the first sign of movement, but it didn't. Works exactly the same. It works just fine. Head sculpt wise, you can see that the knockoffs are on the left and the official are on the right. Now there are some differences, and you can obviously see that the hair is a little bit shinier on the KO version than they are on the official version. The eyes, again, a little bit more sloppy on the actual knockoff version. It's not so bad that it's terrible, but does detract away from it just a little bit. You can see on the left that there is a bruised, swollen eye, and on the right battle damage version, the bruising and swelling is just a little bit more. It's more prevalent. And also the thicker on the nose is a little bit brighter on the official rather than the KO version. But they still have lots of scars and damage. In fact, I think it's more obvious that he's got scars and damage on the knockoff version because the lines are a bit more firm, whereas they're slightly more subdued and a little bit more subtle on the official version. We can see they both have 5 o'clock shadows, but it's more obvious on the KO. Yeah, the eyebrows are a little bit messier as well. Not much, but a little bit more. So you can obviously see there is a colour difference. The colour on the left hand side is a bit more brighter, a bit more orangey than on the right. It's very subtle though. If you had one or the other, you probably wouldn't notice that much. But this is the point of this, just to see how close they got to it. As you can see, the screaming head sculpt, slightly less shinier hair on the official version. Eyebrows again are a bit more subtle. The nose and the scar on the lip in the knockoff version is actually less than the one on the right. I don't know which one I prefer, to be honest. Yeah, I kind of like the more subtle mark of the lip on the KO version than the one on the right. But you know, that's just the way it is. And obviously the teeth have been painted, but they're a little messier on the left hand side, the KO version, than the right. The right are much cleaner. You know, it doesn't have the subtlety of the official version. I wasn't surprised by that, but it obviously hasn't. And their teeth are a little whiter. And as we can see, the tongue is a little bit more red on the knockoff version, but it still has. And the teeth, just a little bit more whiter and a little bit more messier. And here's the official version. Much cleaner application. The tongue is not as bright red. It's a little more glossy in the mouth on the inside than by the teeth, and the teeth are much cleaner. And the eyes, you can see in the eyes they are much better. Well, as you can see, the official obviously win in respect to the actual paint applications on the heads. It's important to see the differences, because if you end up buying one of these figures, you could be getting a KO version. And it's important that if you see this video, you might actually have a chance of spotting one a little bit easier, and hopefully you won't get ripped off. Accessory wise, he obviously comes with the Uzi. This is the KO version of the Uzi, and here is the official version of the Uzi. If we put them both together, you can see that the weathering is far more obvious on the KO version. It's a bit more slapdash, which is important to see because both come with the clips that are removable. You can remove the clips on both. This is just a simple recast of this one. Here's a comparison of the grenades. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there is slight more weathering on the official. And these ones, even though they have clean application of paint, they're just a little bit more gold. This has a little bit of a darker bronze tint to it, which just looks like gold paint. So it's a bit more obvious. These look a bit more plastic than these. Nice or important to compare. See, left is a recast of the right, but the application of the studs or the screws on the handle are a little bit more messier on the unofficial version. But But other than that, they're practically the same. Even the same paint, really. No difference in colour. But the the knockoff one does have a sloppier paint application. The machine guns, you can see this is the KO version. This is the official version. There's not much of a difference, to be honest, in these. Not much at all. Slightly more sloppier weathering, but not by much. The cartridge has more weathering on it on the knockoff version than the official, but you wouldn't really know that if you didn't have both of them together. And that's all I can say about that, really. There's not much difference at all. And here we have the handguns. One on the right is official, the one on the left is KO. Slightly, again, slightly sloppy-ish paintwork on the KO, and it's not put together as well. You can see there's a gap between there and there. It just doesn't fit as well together. They both work, they both have the clips that pull out. KO version is a little bit more sloppy, and it doesn't fit together as well or as cleanly as the official. Here's the fire effect that come with both. The one on the left is the KO, the one on the right is the official. You can see on the official one they've made an invisible stick, try and hide it being an effect so you can put it in without much hassle. But on the right they've just stuck a little bit of black plastic in to hide it. And obviously this has yellowing all the way here, and to the tip it goes really light, whereas it's practically all yellowing all the way through this one. Slight fading of the tip, but that's probably just because of the thinness of it, rather than them actually making an attempt to darken this side and make this side lighter. Okay guys, this is the KO grenade launcher. As you can see, it's far more silver, and more obviously silver, than the official one. This one has a little bit more gunmetal to it, a bit more subtlety I'd say, whereas the fake one is far brighter and cleaner and looks more like a toy. It's just that this needs more weathering and more fading, whereas this one actually uses a different kind of silver and makes it a bit more subtle near the end, with more weathering on the barrel. But both work exactly the same. Both slide open to reveal the grenades inside, then they close, and then they have this hinged angle here. I'm just going to compare two of the hands. I'm not going to compare every single hand, it will drive you nuts watching this. But as you can see, there isn't much of a difference. There's more weathering on the this one here, bit more sloppy weathering than this one. But again, these are very subtle differences. They're not massively, you know, deal breaking, which is really surprising, really quite worrying. But the sculpt is a little cleaner on the official one than the left, but not by much, and that could be simply because of the weathering being a bit more obvious on the KO version than the official. In terms of the stand that comes with it, there isn't much of a difference at all. The arm that it comes with, the KO version, is exactly the same as the arm that you get with the official version. I don't see any differences. They seem to work just as well. The joints are just as tight. I don't see much of a difference. The only difference between the unofficial one and the official one is that this one did not come with a foot peg. There's normally a foot peg that goes into the stand that you usually either swap this out with. This one did not come with a foot peg. So if you want to secure it, you're either going to have to try and find a foot peg somewhere, or you're going to have to use this. The main differences in these figures are the paint application, it seems. I mean, the material on the clothing is the same. The material on the actual plastic sculpted bits are the same. The only difference really is the quality of the paint application. But that can make or break a figure. And the only reason I got the KO version is simply so I can put on an official head sculpt onto the KO version, just so I can display him in two different poses at the same time and show off the quality that MEZCO did with the 112 official version Punisher. And the sculpts on the official are better than the KO version. Okay guys, that's just to give you some information, just so you know, if you're going to go online and you're going to be looking for the MEZCO, you can be able to look out for the pitfalls of what exactly is a knockoff and what isn't a knockoff, and you're just more well informed, so you can actually make a valid decision. Price difference is almost half the price for a knockoff than it is for the official version, so you have to weigh into your thought process, is double the price worth the quality? And that's what I can't make a decision for you. That's the decision you have to make. If you see it for a really good price now, question it. Simply question it, because I don't think anyone's going to sell an official one for the price that the knockoffs go for. You may be lucky, but I don't think you will. So just be very wary, buyer beware. Take care guys, hope you have a great day. Do me a favour, get the fuck out of my cave. Bye bye.